Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 vs 1 replay cast. Should be a good one here. I mean, these two guys, they meet each other a fair bit. It's a Terran versus Zerg on Cerulean Fall. Bit of a lag spike at the start, but hopefully that won't continue on. But here we are. So spawning down the bottom left-hand side of the map, I'm sure you guys recognize his name if you watch my channel. It's SuperNova playing for Team Root. So SuperNova, I mean, he's a Terran streamer, tends to play a lot of MECH, and his opponent, spawning up in the top right-hand side of the map, the Mexican Zerg streamer, it is JimRising. So we've got Korea versus Mexico right now. It should be a good one. Now, these two guys, they both sort of play a little bit uniquely. I mean, neither of them are full-on pro gamers. They play at a very high level, sometimes at a professional level, and play in odd tournaments and stuff here and there, but it's not their main plan. So that allows players to sort of have a unique style as far as how they're going to play. JimRising, I believe, is a guy who does prefer to macro up a fair bit. I imagine that SuperNova will be going mech, and so I think JimRising may try and hit a timing or two, but then again, at StarCraft 2, it's impossible to tell until the match actually plays through. So, I mean, standard stuff here. The map is Cerulean Fall. It's absolutely massive. It's huge. There's no other way to put it. Now, Reaper probably coming out for SuperNova, or is he going to skip that? There we go, Reaper. SuperNova is not crazy. Terrans don't skip Reapers. Let's see. On JimRising's side of the map, standard stuff in the speed. Zergs, unless they go for like a 16 pool or a Roach Ravager rush, they pretty much always go for the gas. There used to be variation in which they wouldn't, but like now 99% of games they do in pretty much all matchups. Now, SuperNova, yeah, Reaper following it up with a Marine. I imagine he'll get a factory. Just the run-of-the-mill sort of stuff, and then JimRising's Overlords are heading across the map. Now, I believe the last game I cast of JimRising on this channel, he faced off versus... completely lost it. I don't even know why I started that sentence. I did cast him though recently on my channel, and it was actually on this map to my knowledge. So JimRising, I mean, he's a very good macro Zerg, and I imagine he's pretty comfortable on this map. And now curiosity has gotten the best of me. I know the Reaper's just doing a stance. I'm quickly gonna pull up who I recently watched him play versus. Now let's see. And then SuperNova just going for Hellions while all this is going on. Yeah, nothing out of the ordinary here, and I actually can't find who he played last time. Oh, actually it was Mechanic he played versus. Pardon me. Yeah, he played pretty straight up PvZ versus Mechanic. Now that's just sort of something worth noting. I mean, JimRising at a very high level on the North American server, and to my knowledge, this game was played on the NA server, so, I mean, SuperNova, he'll have a bit of ping, but he's a guy who's used to playing on the NA server. Now, as far as anything else goes, JimRising getting up to that third base, if we look at the production tab, everything is pretty much standard. SuperNova going for the Hellions. We'll see if he goes for a Banshee. Now, the last game of SuperNova that I casted on my channel, he actually played Bio, which is sort of unheard of for him. So that was interesting to see, but I mean, we can probably assume it's going to be mech. That's just the way it goes. Now, Cloak on the way, Banshee on the way for SuperNova, so going to be opening up with that. The Marine has shooed the Overlord away. JimRising also keeping his other Overlord right at the door here. Look at this. I never knew about this position here. I mean, I've seen Zergs keep their Overlords here, but this spot, wow, it really gives the Zerg vision which way the Terran units are going to go when they pass on by. If you guys just heard that sound clip, that means JimRising is using the Tastosis announcer pack, I believe. Now, JimRising playing it defensively, getting up Spores already, getting up a Roach Warren, despite not really seeing anything to my knowledge. I mean, he did see the Starport, but you can't really confirm what's coming your way, but Spore is pretty good versus most Starport units since they, you know, tend to fly. But a third CC is on the way for SuperNova, and then he's got all these Hellions. We'll see if he's going to maybe go for a dive on in, or because he doesn't have an armory. Now, the question is whether he's actually going to be able to get anything done. JimRising already making roaches. He's got a decent number of queens, but I mean, this is a lot of Hellions right now. The Banshees are also going to be moving on in at one of these locations. Where's that first Banshee? There she is. Now, SuperNova is actually going to be diving on in, but I mean, there's all these links. He may be forced back out. There is just a few roaches popping out right now. We'll see if JimRising manages to block him, but he doesn't. SuperNova's Hellions are going to be getting right on in here, and this is going to be bad news for drones, but so far, SuperNova not getting too much done. I mean, for like 8 Hellions in the base, I mean, JimRising's done a very good job defending. He's going to make all these roaches and Ravagers and basically shut this down, so very well played by him. Jack's coming out from JimRising. I mean, he did cut drone production, but he sees that he held the attack, and now he's going into a lot of drones. Just going to be... That's Zerg. I mean, he made the sacrifice to cut him a little bit earlier on, but now he's completely comfortable. Okay, so Overlord's on the way. SuperNova back on his side of the map, going double armory. The question is he going to have a Thor out? Because Aspire's on the way, and you guys know that you need anti-air to deal with Mutalisks. There's the Banshees out for SuperNova, but they don't shoot up. And he's also making yet another Banshee, but he could be making a Thor here. I mean, it's going to be a Thor or a Siege tank, I imagine. One of those units deals with Mutas, one deals with Roaches. SuperNova, I don't believe, scouted the Spire either. No, he did not. And so far, no Thors on the way. No Siege tanks either. Okay, there's a Thor starting. SuperNova securing his third base. There is no engineering bay on the way just yet. And now JimRising is going to be going for a bit of a poke. Fourth base on the way for JimRising. He's going into these mutas. Probably going to stop at 7. You don't commit too many versus Terran, particularly versus Terran mech these days. As sort of the ground base Zerg is a lot better than it used to be. It's got a lot more muscle if you eventually turtle or tech into Hydras. Okay, now a few more mutas coming out, but lots of drones for JimRising. Just going to try and sort of catch SuperNova off guard, and he's certainly doing that. I mean, starting to pick off a few SCVs. There is a Thor out, which is going to force these mutas away, but not very nice for the Terran being forced off your third base. SuperNova, he doesn't even have an engineering bay. He's just starting one there. Now, he's getting up all these barracks, so he will be able to sort of stabilize. He's also getting Mutalisk, or also getting Medivacs in order to deal with the Mutas. Oh, look at this. Look at JimRising's map vision. He is just spreading Overlords everywhere he wants to see. Look at this. No drops or no run-bys. We're really getting through this. And now the Muta's diving into the main base. SuperNova wasn't really anticipating this. He's got a Thor at the natural that he's going to ferry around with these Medivacs. So he does resume mining there, but he has yet to start turrets, which really are a nice deterrent for Mutas. There's another Thor, which is going to help shoo these away. JimRising actually going to engage this Thor while picking off a lot of SCVs, and I mean, this is a lot of SCVs being killed off. SuperNova has lost 17 so far, and I'm pretty sure almost all of those were due to the Mutas, so very nicely done. And now JimRising, he's teching into Hydralisk. SuperNova does have 2-2 on the way, so he does have an upgrade advantage this game, and that can be very good for sort of like ground-based mech. I mean, +2 tanks, just plus anything mech packs the punch. Now SuperNova, I mean, he's still making out a few Thors, but now teching into siege tanks. Now got up some turrets and doesn't have to worry about the Mutas too much, but he's moving on with these Hellions, but everything is seen by JimRising. Look at this, he's got a trifecta. That's like an Illuminati triangle of Overlords just hanging out. Now SuperNova is securing his fourth base, which I think personally is a good move. I mean, you gotta get that up. I mean, if you're not attacking, expand. So that's the most important thing to do now. These Hellions may run into these Hydras. I mean, SuperNova does scout out those Hydras and Roaches. And JimRising may be going for an attack right now. It's looking, I mean, there's a lot of tanks out for SuperNova right now, but we'll see if Jim can find an angle. Oh, look at this. JimRising, if he can't find an angle, he's going to make one. He's starting 5 Dropper Lords here. Drop play, something very good versus mech. Now, SuperNova is getting up a missile turret, but I'm not sure that one turret's going to cut it if he does get dropped in the main base. He's getting out a few Vikings, but they're not quite in position. Now, this. JimRising is attacking into this planetary fortress. SuperNova does lose a Thor, but saves another one. Banshee's putting out a lot of damage, and JimRising attacking into a planetary. It's always so risky, and it costs you a lot if you don't actually manage to break it. So SuperNova keeping that base alive, taking a nice fight. But on this side of the map, I mean, there's these dropper lords, but no units in them just yet. Now, 2-2 going to be finishing up for SuperNova, which will be very nice. He's going to have that upgrade advantage again. But JimRising is getting into this hive. He's getting up muscular augments, which is sort of a given for Hydras. And then a few spines going up at these bases, really going to help deal with that harassment. And SuperNova does want to harass, but JimRising, I mean, it's sort of predictable that a Terran player is going to try and harass a Zerg. Now, these Hellions, they don't spot these Overlords. JimRising, I mean, his whole army is pretty much out here. Hellions are going to see this. Maybe, I mean, anticipating a frontal attack, but is SuperNova going to anticipate this drop? JimRising getting ready to load this up. Four of each unit can fit inside one of these dropper lords, so suddenly this is like 60 supply of units that are going to be in SuperNova's main base. Oh, and he's just getting out more production too. I'm not sure those buildings are going to finish. SuperNova is trying to reach this sort of comfortable mech stage, but JimRising really trying to pull the rug out from underneath him. And now here comes these Hydras and Roaches dropping in the main base. Hydras have a lot of DPS. Any SCVs that they run into are going to be mangled. And now some tanks for SuperNova are going to come help clean this up. These Vikings could actually catch these Overlords, which would be nice. I mean, that's like 500 minerals worth of Vikings. But so far, looks like SuperNova does manage to clean this up. JimRising didn't really go for a full-on 1-2 punch. He's planning that now, but all these SCVs are really ready in order to repair this planetary. Look at this. Worshipping that planetary like it's their goddess, the thing keeping them alive. And now SuperNova gonna get back to mining on that base. He didn't take too much damage. I mean, pulled off his base a bit, but right now his army is looking pretty good. He's up on supply. He's started his +3 attack, never started his armor. So that's not the best, but I mean, he still will be ahead on upgrades no matter what, just not as ahead as he used to be. Now another CC starting for SuperNova. Eventually you want to be getting up more bases if you're not going to be killing your opponent. And now he's got a pretty good army, but we'll see if JimRising plays that sort of Zerg style in which you pull your opponent apart. Hellion's going to run into these Hydras. That's not a fight they want to take. Ever since Hydra's got that plus health buff, Hellions became much worse. Oh, that's still pretty good though at tanking. Now SuperNova, I mean, Hydras, since they do so much damage, you really have to be on your toes as a mech Terran, because they can just pick off a base, pick off an unsieged army so quickly. And SuperNova is making more Hellions, but eventually he's going to have to tack into something else, because JimRising is going for Broodlord. So I think I'd like to see another Thor or two coming out of SuperNova, as Thors, you can't really go wrong with them. And now here comes the move out for SuperNova though. He sees this Hydra army. JimRising does want to catch him off guard, but look at this. Forcing the siege, and Cerulean Fall is a big map, so it'll take a while to get over there. But, oh, I didn't see this. JimRising has 6 Vipers here. Now, 6 Vipers are very good versus a mech army. We'll see if SuperNova gets caught out. But, I mean, like, that's a lot of Blinding Cloud. This army ain't going to be seeing a thing. Vikings actually pick off a Viper, force out a Parasitic Bomb, but some of Ducks go down. Hellbats spilling forward, getting picked off, and now a lot of the Vikings went down. So did 2 of the Vipers, though, so not a full-on engagement there. SuperNova going into some Thors. Blinding Cloud not as effective versus Thors, and obviously Thors decent versus Broodlords, too. SuperNova eats another Parasitic Bomb, though, so he's trying to secure up his 5th base. He's unsieging again. It's possible that he's going to go up this ramp. We'll see if JimRising is ready for that or not. As SuperNova, I mean, he wants to push out, but you can't. This Zerg, it's just too quick, and now it's heading towards his 3rd base. There is a tank there. Some missile turrets may be able to pick off the Vipers. Liberator's coming on in too, so SuperNova does react. He's not going to get caught off guard here. Vikings need to be careful. Tank's going to fire a few times. May actually pick off some of these Hydras. Eating another Parasitic Bomb. SuperNova immediately lands the Vikings, keeping them alive, but JimRising is buying time, and that's what he wants. SuperNova. I'd like to see some missile turrets going up at this base. Maybe shuffle some of the tanks. JimRising may try and pick that off. Actually, all the Vipers going down pretty much. So that's a nice pick off there for SuperNova. JimRising trading off a fair bit of army, but he's got a high bank, and now he's going into all these Broodlords, getting up a lot of Hydras, Corruptors, and Vipers to support it. SuperNova making 6 tanks, though, while this is going on. That's not what you want versus Broodlords. SuperNova's got another CC up. Eventually, he'll want to take that base in the bottom right, most likely. Oh, another lag spike there. Alrighty, we power through. Okay, so JimRising now getting up some very nice upgrades. He's getting into his +3, getting up some melee upgrades. His Zergling's very good with run-bys and whatnot. But look at this, JimRising protecting that base. Although this one Hellion may just be about to commit a massacre. Some tanks moving forwards for SuperNova. Looks like he wants to trade these off just sort of charge him in there. Look at that, one pop in the spine prop was actually very nicely done. So JimRising gonna have to use some Vipers to pick this off, or actually sending over the slow Broodlords to get that done. And that will, I mean, SuperNova definitely knows about the Broodlords now, and this is why he's trading off these tanks and these Hellions. I mean, they don't shoot up. We're seeing some tanks that went for an attack on the left side base. They pick off the base on the right, which is nice. So now SuperNova really can focus that he's traded off the supply on trying to take this, but looks like these tanks could get caught out right now. Hellion's doing a good job buffering through the tanks to get some shots off, but who's going to win this fight actually? It's going to be pretty close. 3 tanks left. Hydras, I think the Hydras may have this. We'll see, is Jim going to split the Hydras? No, he's busy taking a fight to the right side. Is there enough Vikings to deal with all these Corruptors? Parasitic Bomb went down, but SuperNova not focusing down the Corruptors. Missile turrets even helping out. Thor's helping out tremendously. Is SuperNova going to win this out? The Planetary is also going to help picking off Broodlings. I think SuperNova may have one on the right and the left side. These few Thors going to help out. Yeah, it looks like JimRising's army wasn't just enough. Both these players have really spent their bank, but look at this. 10 Vipers on the way for JimRising. Okay, that's a lot of Vipers. I mean, Vipers are very good, but I mean, that's a lot of Vipers. Now, SuperNova's army was a bit disjointed, though. When Hydras are pushing up this ramp, going to trade with some of the tanks, but these are 3-3 tanks, so they're pretty good versus just Hydras without any support. But once the rest of these Vipers come in, it could become pretty rough for SuperNova. He's secured a base on the left, well, gonna be securing a base on the left, and he's working on this base on the right. JimRising coming in with a nice concave, though there's not quite enough of a buffer for SuperNova. Tanks getting some shots off, but Viper's gonna be coming on in. And looks like SuperNova will be pushed back right now. He's got some more Thors rallying in, but he's gonna have to pull back. And look at all these Vipers for JimRising. Now, both these guys, they're down on supply. JimRising has lost a lot more resources, but SuperNova, I mean, it does take a while to rebuild up that mech army. Whereas JimRising just churning out Hydralisk non-stop, even making a few lings now. Hoping to find a weak point in SuperNova's armor, and now he's moving to the left. The Planetary may be up in time. It's going to be close. SuperNova does see that this is coming. Hellion's going to try and buy some time. I mean, once the Planetary's up, repair is pretty good. There's a siege tank that's coming on in. SuperNova's going to be able to repair this. It looks like he will. JimRising, a few Hydras picking off these turrets as well. But he does get forced back. SuperNova keeping that base alive is very important. And he's got 77 SCVs. He's really pretty well saturated on all these bases. So he just needs another minute and then he'll max out once again. But all these Vipers, I mean, look at how many Vipers there are, guys. If only SuperNova had some High Templar, that would just be feedback city, but no High Templar for SuperNova. So now looking at this, tanks, nice tank line for SuperNova. He's really doing a good job shutting down his map. Hellion run by gets shut down. Some more Hellions going in, but JimRising knows the sort of Terran tricks in which it's like, alright, I can't attack, so I'll just go for some harassment instead. Now, the army for JimRising, I mean, this is just so many Vipers here. Look at this. This is almost absurd. Looks like JimRising is going for it, abducting a lot of these tanks right now, throwing blinding clouds on the abducted units. This is so much for JimRising, but ultimately, he's not going to be able to break it just yet. I mean, he's still got a lot of Vipers left. but not quite the muscle to back it up. 17 more Hydras on the way could be what he needs. I mean, Vipers are so good. Now, Hellions maybe going to engage these Hydras. I mean, there's just too many Hydras for them to engage. SuperNova, he's got this base. See, I mean, Tank's getting a shot or two off. A Duck's going down, but Hellions coming on in, going to help out. There's actually not too many Hydras left, so Parasitic Bomb actually forced out as these Liberators are going to get to work on these Vipers now, and SuperNova may pursue this. I mean, any Viper that he can pick off is pretty nice. These Vipers are very expensive units. Looks like JimRising going to turn around. He's got some more army up. He's going to be able to throw down Blinding Clouds on this. SuperNova's taking the fight, but look at this. Blinding Cloud for days on this army. Some Tanks in the back, getting some shots off, which is nice, but good trade for JimRising there, I think. I mean, it's always tough to call in these fights. But JimRising, he's actually through his bank. SuperNova, on the other hand, is now building up a bank, and he's closer to maxing out. And the longer the game goes on, the more JimRising is going to mine out. You need more and more bases. Oh, is this going to kill this base? I mean, JimRising can transfuse this, right? Or he'll transfuse the Vipers. Okay, he's not going to kill his own hatchery. But yeah, SuperNova so far have been taking the much better fights this game. The question is JimRising eventually going to be able to break SuperNova? SuperNova's planning a transition on the looks of this, getting up that Yamato cannon, upgrading ship weapons, maybe thinking some good old battle cruisers later on. SuperNova's moving forward right now. Tank's getting set up. He's got the Vikings, which really prevent the Vipers from just running on in and casting their spells. But SuperNova, I mean, this is looking like a pretty exposed position right now. JimRising could have a surround. This could be a mistake for SuperNova. Blinding Cloud's starting to go down. All these tanks sieging up, but they are so clumped up. This is looking pretty rough for SuperNova. Suddenly, his army could be in a lot of trouble right now. Liberator's getting set up. Hydras can focus him down. Blinding Clouds do mostly expire, though. But one final one, catching 4 siege tanks there is absolutely massive. Reinforcements for SuperNova coming forward, so it looks like it's going to be a relatively even trade, but JimRising, I mean, that was fantastic for him. SuperNova pushed in. He was so clumped up. All those 10 Vipers gave their lives, well, all but one. Not one veterans left, but that was a pretty good trade for JimRising. Now, he's still down on the resources lost, but he's making 25 Hydras. I mean, he managed to build up a bank, and suddenly SuperNova, not on the best economy, really going to be on the defensive for now, just churning out Liberators and Siege Tanks from the look of things. As, with all these Hydras, that's what he's going to need. Going to need a very good tank spread. That attack was pretty ambitious, and now he's really got to sit back and simmer for a while. He's going to pick off some Hellions or some drones, but, I mean, JimRising's reaching that point. And I mean, JimRising actually picked off the base on the left. I did not catch that, my apologies, but look at this, just so many Hydras. Tanks are going to be able to get set up, but is it in time? I think so. That's a pretty close funnel. JimRising going to eat some nasty tank shots there, but SuperNova lost the base on the left. Now, these 2 bases on the right are relatively fresh, though, so SuperNova getting those up is pretty important for him. As, keep in mind, JimRising's economy also, it's still pretty good, but it's going to have a timer on it as more and more of these bases mine out. SuperNova eventually will want to resecure that left, though. As you either got to take this base or some of the left. As he's still got a decent economy for now, but I mean, losing that base is really going to put him on the clock a little bit sooner than he would have liked. Okay, Liberator's getting some red circles on these drones right now. Gonna start picking some of them off. I mean, JimRising not got a huge bank, so economic damage is still good damage at this point. SuperNova's gonna want to scan and clean up these creep tumors, but it does look like he's planning on securing this right base, which, I mean, securing this base on the right also secures your lower base. He's got some good tanks up, good Liberators, so JimRising not gonna be able to pull him out of position. And SuperNova is making a lot of Liberators, and he's actually getting some good harassment done. JimRising, though, going into Corruptors, and there's actually, like, no anti-air here. There's not a single Thor to drive these Corruptors away. So SuperNova could actually be in trouble right now. JimRising realizing this, getting on top, and Liberators are not what they once were versus Corruptors, so SuperNova could actually be losing the majority of his air army. He's teching into some more Vikings right now, but I mean, he's got no anti-air, and JimRising is really capitalizing on this. He's gonna start spitting on that command center. Your repair is gonna buy it some time. Vikings are also coming in. Maybe they can pull this army off. I mean, SuperNova needs to repair with everything. JimRising really committing to this. Is he actually going to get it? I think he is. And now he's actually going to dive on top of these Liberators. The Liberators are all actually pretty red, though. So a lot of them do go down there. Missile turret similar recently set up actually going to help out, too. But SuperNova losing one of his critical mining bases. He really wants to hurry up and take that base on the right now. Float over a CC if he must. Like, yeah, here we go. Floating that CC over is pretty important. Go for the right, SuperNova. Now, looking at this, JimRising wants to secure the base on the left. I mean, these guys both dealing damage to each other's bases, but it looks like JimRising may really want to attack on it here. Although his army, I mean, it's pretty good, but it is just Hydra Viper, and I mean, there's too many tanks to be blinding clouded from the look of it. So JimRising is getting forced back. So this is not going to be the angle he's going to find. As far as resources lost go, SuperNova still in the lead. Oh my god, look at the units lost tab. 19 Vipers, 205 Hydras. I've never seen a game with that many Hydras die. This is Cerulean fall. Just so many resources for these guys to throw at each other. I mean, it's possible that JimRising passes 100k resources lost, that's just a lot. SuperNova getting some nice harassment, gonna be able to shut this base down. I mean, just even having a base for a minute can be really effective in a match like this, so SuperNova preventing JimRising even from mining a little bit off that base is nice. And SuperNova, look at this, he's securing this base on the right, very well done for him. So far, JimRising hasn't been able to break him, but SuperNova, he wants to resaturate those gases and then take the ones on the right. He's going for some Hellion run bys, but look at this, JimRising does know all the tricks. He's even got some Broodlords which are going to help out. Hellbats, I mean, they could transform. Hellions are just going to opt to get out of here. Oh, there we go, they will transform. Maybe a little bit late. They do go down, but they got some nice drone pickoffs. And JimRising, he's down to 60 workers. And he isn't Terran, so he doesn't have the mules that SuperNova has. So SuperNova on 55 SCVs still has a pretty decent economy. But he really does need to hold on to these right bases. Like, he should be focusing on these, making sure that JimRising does not break them. Because if SuperNova loses these bases on the right, he hasn't really hit a massive bank this game. Like meching Terrans sometimes do. No, SuperNova has just been trading constantly versus JimRising. Well, JimRising really trading versus SuperNova, I guess. But yeah, I mean, SuperNova, he's got a pretty decent army. JimRising could possibly be planning another drop, and he actually is. He's already got some units. Now, let's see. I mean, Dropper Lords getting ready to move on in. Some last minute borders there, as now SuperNova is going to have to worry about this. Hellions may actually spot this. This would be huge if Oh, he actually changed his course. Will the Hellions see this? I think they will. SuperNova, did he identify that though? Did he see the Dropper Lords? He's not reacting, no. So I don't think he did. Now suddenly he's got to worry about these Hydras in his main base. So this drop is coming on while SuperNova looked like he pushed to the north, but that base was pretty much all but mined out. I think SuperNova may be catching whiff of this, but not in time. Yeah, his army is moving left, maybe wondering where this is, but suddenly there's going to be a lot of units unloading in his main base. JimRising, he tried this earlier on, but he's going to be doing it again. The Liberators will help clean this up. With their range, they can really zone these Hydras. But wow, this is actually an impressive air army for SuperNova. Now, Liberator's going to eat some shots. May actually catch these Vikings forced to land. And I mean, Vikings not the best versus Hydras. Anti-armor missile going to help out. So this army will be cleaned up. But as I said before, SuperNova needs to hold this right section, but he's being pushed off it now. The Broodlords, Vipers are here to support. So, I mean, the air army is going to be really everything in this game. But SuperNova being pushed off his base is really going to stifle his income. I think now is the moment in which he needs to float this base to the left just immediately. You gotta take that risk, because like any second of mining in this game is everything. Harassment going down while this is on. JimRising, is he gonna take this push further? He picks off the CC. Viper's moving in, maybe for a duck or two. Oh, almost loses a Viper there. Liberators taking kill off the Broodlings pretty easily, but eventually you got to kill off the Broodlord. SuperNova's got the high Viking count, but Parasitic Bomb is very good versus Vikings. He wants to come in for this round. He knows there's Vipers waiting for him. He's got a few Thors as well. This isn't a planetary as well. I mean, the planetary there died. Now Vikings forced to split. SuperNova taking a nice split there. Going to be able to micro these Vikings, but actually not taking the best trade there. Now he's actually deciding to go right for the Broodlords. He's got a mass number of Vikings. Hydras are here to help pick these off, though. Parasitic Bombs going down on the Vikings. Is SuperNova going to have enough? I mean, he's picked off most of the Corruptors from the Seema things, but there's some more to the north. I guess he's just going to focus on the Broodlords, but I'm not sure he has enough. Most of his army's been cleaned out. I mean, Liberator's picking off the remaining Hydras, but in the end, it looks like that JimRising's gonna win out versus this. He killed off really the only other mining base is SuperNova. Tanks, I mean, they picked off a base. SuperNova's got this base on the right, but I think at this point, he's gonna need something else. He's making Vikings and Hellions as he's really starved on gas. He's got a few Thors, and there's not too many Broodlords left. Some of them are also nicely bruised, but JimRising's got a pretty good bank still, even if it is just minerals. And SuperNova, yeah, we need to see that CC fly to the left, I think. It's just so important at this point. He's starting another, but yeah, come on, you gotta take that base on the left, SuperNova, in my opinion. And now suddenly JimRising is up on army supply. He's got these Broodlords, he's got Corruptors, but I think all the Vipers went down. So SuperNova may be able to win out in the air fight. 3 Vikings, 7 Corruptors. Queen's transfusing is absolutely huge. SuperNova is floating a base over, but he's not taking that base on the left. I think you need this one. As JimRising is all over his north side, this CC is going to get caught right now. And this may actually force SuperNova to take a fight. He's got the planetary. If JimRising attacks into that, it will help him out greatly. SCV is even being pulled into this from the looks of it. Base on the left. JimRising, I mean, he's got like 4k minerals. May as well make a ton of lings. SuperNova, I think we need to see you take that base on the left, though. It's pretty important. He may just be going for one Hail Mary attack from the look of things. JimRising, I mean, army supply is relatively equal now. Tanks are in. Vikings, they're actually getting a little bit too far forward, though, and there's a lot of transfuse here from the tanks. There's a pretty decent ground army for SuperNova, but is there going to be enough Vikings? He's got to kite back. No, SuperNova is going to tap out. JimRising manages to take it. What a game by JimRising. I mean, he just kept throwing and throwing. Well, not throwing the game. Throwing and throwing at SuperNova, and eventually he wins out there. So very nicely done by JimRising. Just made so many units, and then just built up. Not like that was a lot for JimRising. He lost 74,000 resources to SuperNova's 70,000 at the end. But I mean, JimRising was behind on resources, and that takes confidence as a player in order to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep on attacking, even though it's not going too well for me. And eventually, he managed to win out. SuperNova caught out a position, pulled out a position really by that drop that did it. And then JimRising moved on these bases, and that really cut SuperNova off. And very well played by JimRising. Thanks to everyone for tuning on in. This has been LaughNgamez casting. Make sure to leave a like. I always love casting these sort of longer mech drawn out games. They're always just so much fun. But yeah, make sure to leave a like on the video. That always helps. Makes it see that you guys, you know, like the video. So if you do like it, leave a like, and also feel free to leave a subscribe. I'm trying to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. That's the name of the game right now. That's the goal. But I shall see you guys next time, and thank you for watching.